Justin, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great, man. Glad to finally have you on the podcast. You are super busy. A little bit of a deadline coming up, huh?
Yeah, we have a great thing coming up this week, which I'm excited about. It's the BitClout Gallery, BTCLT Gallery, and it'll be here in LA. And we have over 25 artists. We have live performers coming in, several music acts, including some of our clubhouse favorites like Folsom Music. So that'll be and Yellow Red Sparks. But it's going to be a great night, though. I'm really excited about it. So thanks so much for having me. And I'm excited to explore a little bit with you about our BitClout experience.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up, folks. Thanks, Justin. you got it all in there, man.
No doubt.
No, that's good. I was make sure everybody knows what's going on. So I want to talk about that because that is the first BitClout Art Gallery showing exhibition ever to happen in real life, right?
Yes, that's right. In real life.
Yeah. So people are coming from all over the country, the world. What?
Yeah, I've been told, some people are coming in from Miami, some from New York. I heard maybe even someone from Australia. So we'll see if that happens. But I think what we're really excited about and we're working on rapid prototyping is basically getting Hyped involved to basically live stream some interviews with creators that are on location as well as other artists. Looking at a little bit of what's going on for those that can't travel during this time, whether because so I'm really excited about that, and that's what's great about BitClout. No matter where you're at in the world, we can connect in different ways. So
yeah, and I'm always amazed at the capabilities that so many of the creators on this platform have. Like not to toot my own horn, for instance, but I will. Like, I'm fully capable of going there and shooting that, because we do that, and as part of our projects that we do and our business and all that. But so many times I'm in the presence of people where we're collaborating and talking about something, and I'm one of the few people that can provide a certain niche, like production, for instance. I always seem to run across in this realm, like there's a ton of people that can provide those types of services. So we all seem to have these, all this sort of this arsenal of things we can bring to the table. And it's almost like a breath of fresh air, because I can kind of sit back and go, I don't have to provide that. Like, I can focus elsewhere, because usually I'm called upon to do these things. And so I can like rest knowing other people are doing it. It doesn't have to be competitive is what I'm saying. And so I think that's cool. And it provides a lot of opportunity.
It's interesting, the competitive nature. I mean, artists, whether in business, whether you're working on doing a graphic design job, or you're working on a commission, or working in AV, or whatever that might be, historically, it's been a lot of competitiveness or competition. Now I'm finding this collaborative aspect to it all, which is really, really exciting. I've been working with artists for a long time, and it's just a breath of fresh air that BitClout can become this place where people can come together rather than being siloed or feeling like they're alone. And to your point, even though there might be a lot of other people that do the things that you do, it's interesting that you still, as your unique creative that you are, still has the ability to basically add value in your own way with your own little twist to it. So I think that's really important. And I think that's what we're seeing now too. So
yeah, it's kind of a couple of things come into play. You have the dynamic of, you got to let go of your competitive nature sometimes, which I have. And at the same time, you might find you're entering into a competitive world that you've got to up your game, because there's a lot of talent that comes along. And sometimes it's shocking to me where we interface with people through this platform, and then it's associated through like Clubhouse and other things, where you're talking to someone and you find out, wait a minute, this is the guy that did this project that I loved. Like, that's the dude, or that's the girl, that I'm like, wow, like we're just, chewing the fat here, but I would not have had an opportunity like that before. So it goes both ways, open yourself up. And I think that's where you feel like artists are feeling that way, like they're finding a like they can be more open?
I think so. I think that's a great point. We've been sort of closed down for this past year. Maybe it's been a decade, maybe it's been, several decades, where people have just been grinding, doing what they've been doing. They've been success has been measured in different ways. It's about getting that buck, that dollar. And I'm interested in what is going to happen when, sort of robots and automation come into play. And what are humans going to do? Are they still going to strive after that buck by working on the line at GM or at a steel mill, or can we empower creatives, that creative spirit that makes us human? Can we empower that to basically create our own economies and our own ways of making money? Because when those robots take and automation take over those jobs, what are humans going to be left with? And I believe it is the creative. And I believe BitClout in many ways is the answer to that, to allow us to find and create these little mini industries. So to your point, I think being open, finally, it's like something broke and it's okay to be creative. It's okay to be innovative. It's okay to invent. It's okay to just improvise and make things up. So I feel a lot of liberation in this movement in the last couple months, especially surrounding BitClout.
Okay, so you said a lot there, and there's some layers to it. And so let's peel back a couple of layers. One of them being, let's forget the how people get paid part for a moment, and consider that because of what's happened in the past year, people have had some sustenance in varying ways and varying levels. People have been sort of provided for. And I'm not saying that, oh, we just all got to sit around and we got paid for it. No, I'm not. That wasn't the case at all. But faced with, okay, I can't do anything else, let me just create. Do you foresee like if UBI is coming, will that open up a dynamic where artists are like, okay, I'm cool now, I can just create and also look for ways to monetize on top of what I'm provided with? Do you see that shift happening in the art world now?
Well, as you talk about this, I almost get goosebumps. I think UBI and the way we think of it, I think it's different. I think with the advent of NFTs, the advent of a utility of the NFT to allow an artistic work, product, a service, an invention to forever have some sort of royalty or royalty with it in perpetuity, that to me has a lot of strength to create that UBI or the universal income that would help, with some of the inequalities and inequities that are in the world. But what I really think another thing is crypto itself. I mean, why don't we give, a Dogecoin or give a coin that when you're born into the world that matures with you. There's different activations that you do through life that adds value to your coin. And then by the time that by the time that you are 18, you have this coin that gives you a sense of liberation and independence to find your way in the world. So
you're
so yeah,
saying
I
that
think we're
crypto's different in fiat, that like if you gave a kid $100 bill, with 18 years later, that $100 bill is worth $10.
Yeah, and maybe yeah, I think there aren't as many right now, and maybe crypto won't be the answer. Maybe we'll just have to evolve, and maybe there's other currency or other value that we put on things. Maybe we won't need any type of currency at all. We'll value people that can paint with an apple. We'll value people that can plant mushrooms or harvest mushrooms rather. I think the value will change, and I think the creatives right now, we're seeing this sort of, whether they call it another renaissance, a digital renaissance. Interesting enough, the first renaissance, basically there was a bubonic plague. We think of maybe the AIDS epidemic in the 80s too, and the creativity that came out of there as well. So when we had, and also in the 20s with that, flu as well, there was the Bauhaus, and there was amazing art and poetry and literature that was being created. So in many ways, I think we're lined up in this new digital renaissance. I think finally technology and humanity may be able to work together. For a long time, technology was really steep and humanity was sort of, plateaued a bit, or the movement was not so steep. And now I feel like with the openness of the heart, of the mind, of the creative, we may have an ability to harness technology and allow technology to take us to the next level. Speaking of technology too, everyone wants to put people into right brain, left brain sort of categories. And I myself think it's one brain at the end of the day. We have examples of that with Da Vinci and his inventions or his artwork. I talk a lot about Morse, Samuel Morse, and he was an amazing portrait painter, but he created Morse code. So he's not known for his paintings, but he's known for an amazing communication system that helped with humanity and society to move forward. So I'm excited right now, Bill. I think this is an amazing time. I think with creativity, the arts, the sciences, everything's sort of being bundled into one. I'm excited to see what comes out.
Yeah, me too. So it sounds to me like what you're saying is there's just a whole bunch of pent up artistry and creativity that's ready to be just released now that the world's reopening. Like people had to hunker down and create.
Well, I think people needed to just breathe a little bit. I think, whether you live in a big city or you live in, I'm from rural Ohio, I live in Los Angeles now. Wherever you come from, I think there was this real pressure, whether it was through the consumption of media, the consumption of food, or the 24/7 convenience store open that you could always get something. There wasn't a lot of preparedness always. It's instant gratification. You could get a movie on Netflix. I mean, of course, these things still exist, but I'm saying like there were some things that sort of allowed us to close things down, that allowed us to reevaluate what our priorities were, to put and invest where we needed to, and to understand. I just spoke 2 days ago with an artist. She taught elementary school, till she was 60. She then went at the age of 75 to Kent State in Ohio to the fine art program. At 80, she got her fine art degree, and she's 101 now. Wow. And she talks a lot about how art is therapy for her. I met her when she was 80. I've known her for the past 20 years. All I know of her is an artist, but she talks of art as therapy. Every time I go back to visit her in Ohio, I go and buy her canvases. And the next time I visit her, she has them all painted and full of imagery and things that she's thinking about, things that she wants to discover, that she's curious about, things that she's experienced and documented. And so to me, having that creative expression, and it comes out in all different forms. There's just not the arts. It comes out, people might like data analysis, or might like to enjoy or create or cook food or garden. I think we all need to think about art and creativity in a broader spectrum, and in many ways, art as human.
Indeed. Now, your friend in Ohio, does she have any concept of NFTs?
I've been thinking about this. I'm due to visit her. I don't want it to also be like NFT just to for an 101-year-old to do an NFT, but she has asked me about it, so she is aware of it. I want to explain to her the utility of it, because she always talks about, she's really great with her great-grandchildren or grandchildren, thinking about legacy. And I think her art attached to an NFT could provide some sort of legacy that, whenever her grandchildren go to secondary, post-secondary, or secondary education, she helps to facilitate that. And this could maybe provide that utility to allow that deed to exist even after she no longer exists on this earth.
So I've got like 10 questions now, but
one
thing that sticks out to me is as we're talking about NFTs, is I see this beautiful piece of art behind you, which I presume you created.
Actually, it's an artist here in LA.
Okay.
His name's yeah. So I have quite a large collection. I've been collecting for over a decade. I have about 400 physical objects, whether they're paintings, sculptures, collages, photographs, whatever it might be. I've historically had a gallery space in LA called Visual Artists Group. that basically helped artists not just show their work, but a lot of the stuff behind their work, helping them, hey, rent's due, like how are we going to help you, facilitate that? How about helping you get into a bigger gallery or get into art shows, or think about your marketing, think about your website. So I'm a very big patron of the arts, but I also, one of my biggest thrills is basically working with the creative and finding ways to bring that creative that they can have a quality of life.
You find that that's a pervasive or a sort of a normal part with people who have a lot of creativity, like it's just they can't not do this, but they struggle in other parts of their life. Are you dealing with that a lot?
Most definitely. I sort of call it like, sort of the baby genius. There's just so much genius there, but then there needs to be a little bit of nurture and love and help to help that creative sort of find their way. But you know what? It takes a village, or it takes a team at the end of the day. I mean, I would encourage anyone listening today that if you can't do something, there are going to be someone that can help you, and it's all right. We can't do it all alone. And that's what I've learned with BitClout too, is we're connecting with people all over the world with different skill sets, some similar, but at the end of the day, we're creating this art show at the end of the week. It's been only a couple weeks, and I have 45 artists from all over the world. They're sending me digital files. We got paintings coming. We have different, prints as well, and some photographs. So this all happened in a matter of weeks. And I'm just so excited about the potential of not only BitClout, but the potential of the human creative in BitClout.
Yeah. I want to ask you about that show and who's coming, but still looking at the piece of work you have behind you and knowing that you have a lot of physical pieces, how do you see that? How do you see NFTs helping that art that's currently in the physical realm?
So for art that's currently in the physical realm, it'll provide us almost a certificate of authenticity. There's a lot of thought about how that would be embedded in the piece. We have to remember too, the NFT is not necessarily the image, but is more the smart contract, is the data there. It's the little packet. And basically the artwork or the image just sort of is the wrapper or the gift wrap around it. But it really, it's connected. But at the end of the day, it's what, anyone in the world could have that image on their computer when it's a digital image. Anyone can access it. Anyone can see it online, but only the person that has the NFT, the data, the smart contract, is the one that owns it. So I think it's sort of a mind shift too. I think when I sort of border between, I'm that older millennial, so I have that digital and the analog worlds that I've collided in. But a lot of these younger Gen Zers that are completely digital nomads, their whole idea of ownership, their whole idea of consuming is completely different. And that is to say, I mean, they don't need to have all those photos that grandma has in the album, but they'd like to have a zip or like a USB drive or a Google folder with all of them, so it's also about thinking about that. And a lot of that is, I've been thinking a lot about is how do we create that energy that we have when we hold something that we got from grandma or grandpa or auntie in the digital capacity. So I think there's a lot of shifts going on, and then it makes you to reevaluate, well, why do I have so many objects? Why do I need to have so many objects? So thinking about what else besides making these physical things that the artist does, what else can the artist provide that doesn't take up such a big carbon footprint or, add to that weight of owning and having objects? So.
All right. So I was at the Bitcoin conference 2 weeks ago. And what probably turned me on more than anything was the Bitcoin Art Gallery, which I didn't think would be a big deal, but it was pretty big. There were some beautiful pieces of art. I mean, I walked out of there thinking, wow, if I had a lot of Bitcoin, I would probably spend a good bit of it on some of this art, like, not a large portion of it, but I would want to invest in this type of art. And it was essentially every piece there. And there were probably 50 artists, maybe 25 to 50 artists. And some pieces were pretty large. and some were sculptural, and some were, just like technological, just you name it. But all of it was devoted to Bitcoin and the essence of Bitcoin, what it provides in the form of sovereignty and freedom and all of that. And so just your mind can go wild with that. But it was indeed artists who have devoted their portfolio to Bitcoin. I want to believe that's going to be the case for BitClout. If BitClout takes hold, like we keep seeing it progressing,
no doubt.
What's the essence of what those artists are gravitating towards for BitClout? So like I said, for Bitcoin, it's freedom, sovereignty, those types of things, new money. BitClout's got a different dimension to it. Like, what do you think artists would embrace that they want to really impart to the world through their artwork?
I think we could just go into any of these Bitcoin maxi rooms and see the difference between how the rooms operate on the Clubhouse, for example. I think a real emphasis on collaboration and community. I think I'm even seeing artworks that are in this show that maybe have, the big clout, sort of logo in there, but it's all about togetherness, about community. There's a lot more harmony. I think, though, we can't forget, though, we needed Bitcoin to set the way to all the sovereign and all these types of things to allow us to get to this point here. I've been thinking a lot, and it's a little crazy, but if we live in this third dimensional world with three-dimensional objects, but then we pull back in a two-dimensional space that BitClout is very, very plain, very raw, very, hard to sort of get around, very simple, very basic. And we've experienced this third world or 3D world. We pull back to that very two-dimensional world that we've been in. Not many, we have to dig in, we have to discover. It sort of allows us then maybe to leapfrog into the fourth dimension, which I believe is where this community, the collaboration, time and space with that continuum. I mean, a day in BitClout is like a month and a half, 6 months. Things happen really quickly. And so I'm really, really excited about that. And even some of the works that we'll have in the show and that I've been working with different NFT artists, it's sort of reflecting that. A lot of community, a lot of looking at time and space and the fourth dimension, the metaverse in a different way. And I think BitClout is sort of that entry point into all of this.
Okay, let me put the camera on me and show my head exploding. You just, man, I don't even know where to start with that. That's just like next level stuff to me. Like, I haven't really thought of it in that way. Perhaps because I'm not looking at it purely from an art standpoint.
Yeah, and that's what's great about having these artists in here. They can start visualizing some of these concepts that we're already experiencing. We don't even need to really even, say we're in the fourth dimension or that we're on that pursuit or where we're at. It's already happening. We're already in it. I'm not going to say we're in the matrix. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go red pill, blue pill. I'm going to say we all have a purple pill at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So, but I see a lot of purple. You actually see a lot of purple and iridescent in the show as well. So to me, that's interesting. But there's these little things that come in. But what I'm saying is, like, the website, the web as we know it, is just not on our screen. It's now all of a sudden, you know what I mean? We can twist it around and we can basically, have another dimension to it. That's what I'm excited about. When I look at my profile, I'm not just seeing that screen. I'm seeing, well, there's this person, there's this space, there's this time. Like, so many different things are happening that's beyond. And that's where I think we're in this Web 3.0 sort of space, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I can't really equate this necessarily, but I think about the coin prices, and we've seen a lot of extreme things going on with that in the recent days. We won't get into that here, but it involved, we've seen some people try some experiments with some massive swings and experiments with founder rewards and pulling and re-applying their money like crazy. And to your extra dimensional discussion, it made me start thinking that from a speculator standpoint, someone evaluating how am I going to approach a coin strategy, it becomes three-dimensional to me.
Hmm.
As opposed to stock prices. I look at prices just chart up and down, but there's a dimension of people involved and emotions are higher. And you've got another element you have to consider in, like, who am I buying and what's the effect on them if I sell? Who else is involved with them? What's their reputation? I mean, it gets kind of complex. And, we've seen that with all the experimentation. It's like you step back and go, I don't even know how to follow what happened, and to do a post-mortem and go, well, what worked and what didn't? It's just madness. Eventually, I think we'll all sort of learn these things, but we're having to go through it, in the early stage, at this stage. But anyway.
Well, no, and that's an interesting point. Okay, we have a three-dimensional coin. We're used to fiat. We're used to paying. We're used to seeing value. You pull it back and it becomes these stock charts. I mean, whether it's, GME with Robinhood and that whole thing that happened this last year too with retail trading. You think of flattening conversations that you used to have in person, but you're posting on Twitter in a very flat way, two-dimensional way. There's also things like Patreon, where, like, in the past you would get, there would be commissions and money exchange, but now all of a sudden you're getting donations on Patreon that's flat. But here we have it, BitClout, that combines all of these flat two-dimensional things together. And now we're all of a sudden, we don't even know, Bill, yet what the value is. I mean, I think it's, yes, we had these activities going on with creator coins and people pulling and this, that, and other. I'm aware of it. I don't know what happened exactly. I sort of know, but I'm already beyond it in a weird way, because I'm really, really feeling that even my vibration and my connection with you right now, I'm already fulfilled in many ways. I've already won in many ways. I'm now able to give my voice on through your platform and across.
Right.
So it's sort of, in many ways, there's more value than we can even put on some of this stuff that I don't even know if we know yet. But even if we do know, I still think we can't put I know I don't want to say it's priceless. And I know we have capitalist needs, like we need to pay rents, or we need to pay for bills, or we need this, that, or the other. But at the end of the day, like, I've gotten so much value in the last 3 months that I've, from the early days on the platform till now. And I'm so excited that, it's trickling into the other areas of my life. So yeah, I think it's very interesting to think about. But I would recommend to any creative, I like to think of it more as a creative, your creative economy that you're creating, your little industry. Be aware of it. That's when, I've onboarded, like, I don't know, several hundred NFT artists in the last month or so, some traditional artists as well. And we bring them into a room with their community too, that they've created. I bring them into the BitClout community too, but allowing them then to sending them some BitClout to get that first round for themselves, just so they have a couple coins, letting other people that are in their group to sort of get in there, and then bring it into the larger community. So there are humans involved, and there needs to be a sort of consideration and empathy for that adds that other dimension to it that we haven't seen in the 3D world or the 2D flat screen chart world. We need to add it and go into the fourth with that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I could go down this rabbit hole for another hour, but let's talk a little bit in detail about what you've got planned for this weekend. It's Sunday, right?
Saturday, actually.
June 26th, is it?
June 26th. Yeah. Here in LA. Like I said, artists from all over the world, about over 30 of them have participated. Digital artworks, NFT artists, photos, paintings. I might have a performance art piece. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. We will have live musical performances, Yellow Red Sparks, Folsom Music, some other things that we have cooked up that'll be surprises. There'll be food and drink and just community. And then one of the biggest things that I'm excited about with this meetup especially is that we'll be able to give people that are not part of the BitClout community right now exposure to it. So there'll be a live feed of the BitClout on there, as well as helping people to understand whether we hope to onboard as well to some degree, but that's limited with the phone. But at the same rate, just encourage people to if they're interested to get involved and to share that process of onboarding and signing up for it. So
What about your people, like locally? How hard is it to get people locally to get engaged, knowing nothing about BitClout? What do you foresee there? Will there be people just kind of showing up on the
it
local
just
level?
I mean, so tomorrow I'm going to be blasting it off on my local channels. I historically have had a space here with openings and stuff like that. So I'm going to touch into that. I actually think we may have more non-BitClout, attendees actually than we do BitClout members. So at the moment, but I think that's really exciting to show that here is a space, here's a new technology, here's a website, here's a community, and here's what that community creates and makes. And it's not necessarily about how much your coin value is. It's about what you're creating, what you're inventing. I have actually a couple coders and developers that are coming, and they're going to be setting up 3D printers. And they're not a traditional artist per se, but they've created these renders that then they're going to print off. So there's room for everyone at this table, and I'm excited to be able to showcase that.
How many people do you really think will be there? What are you hoping for?
Oh, Bill, it's hard, especially with the pandemic. I hope at least 150. It'd be nice to get it above 200, but we'll see. So, but what I think is going to be even more exciting too is that we'll have more attendees just because our BitClouters all over the world will be able to participate with hopefully in the live stream. So,
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm hoping I have a little time. Weekends are hard.
yeah.
Family and sports and things, like that's the worst time for me to try to experience things online.
No doubt, no doubt. But I also have a Cryptovoxels Art Gallery in the metaverse that with a simple link, you can go around into the metaverse and check out like like a 3D modeled version of the gallery with the artwork in it. So you won't miss out even if you get to see it on Monday, Bill. No worries.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm counting on hearing a lot of discussion about it. I kind of foresee it's like when the Bitcoin thing happened, everything went a little bit quiet for a while because everyone was traveling. And then the following week, it was like, let's talk about what happened last weekend. So
Exactly.
you've got this next weekend locked down.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be fun.
Yeah. So before we wrap it up, usually I'm doing this a little backwards. I just want to know about, what's your story? Like I usually start the interview that way, but mixing it up.
Definitely, definitely. And I historically I grew up in Ohio, rural Ohio, so but I'd gone off to university and I worked in art history and public policy. Even though when I was a kid in Ohio, I helped when I was in high school, I created an art gallery. I was the superlatives in basketball and academics and stuff like that, but I really got that charge when I was able to meet people of all different experiences, all different ages, and be able to see what they created and bring them together in a sense of community. So that's where like public policy, learning about visual history. But then I basically went off and I worked in advertising, marketing, and PR. You think about it with marketing and PR and advertising, it's all about communication. A lot of times visual communication.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was exciting for a period. And then I started working with artists. And then recently, last year, I actually got my master's. It's a new program at USC. It's the Iovine and Young. Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine donated money to the school, and they created a new program. And it's the art school, the business school, and the engineering school. So my degree is a MS in integrated design, business, and technology. And a lot of my work dealt with working with artists, thinking about the future of work and the creative economy. I'm going to actually start launching some things on BitClout now in the next, after this launch of the space and the project. I want to sort of have a proof of concept. A lot of people like to throw their expertise, behind and then launch a project. But in this case, I'm excited to launch this project because it's about the artists and the creatives at the end of the day. This has allowed me to be creative. And in many ways, this show, this project, the other projects that I'm doing too with Where Art Works, basically is my own sort of creative outlet, my own artworks. That's what I like about this project, Where Art Works. It's sort of it's sort of like a collective. We provide, investment and support for creative individuals and their projects. And it's not just, it's like with access to spaces, mentors, and resources. So this is something that I'm very, very excited about. And BitClout's allowed it to be my own little, artwork in itself. So, and BitClout Gallery this weekend's my first little project. But like I was saying earlier, a lot of my research, a lot of my studies throughout the past 5 years has been interviewing artists. I've interviewed over, I don't know, 150 artists talking about how they work, what times of day they work, where they work, how they work. And I'm going to start sharing some of that with the community because I think that's helpful, especially for people that might not have thought of themselves as artists or creatives before. I think it gives a little insight into what that creative process is and how that could maybe work for them.
So is that the start of your doctoral thesis?
I know, right? I gotta, and maybe BitClout will make me do it. So we'll see.
Really?
We'll see.
Really? So what about BitClout has made you when you look at BitClout, do you go, wow, this is a manifestation of what I was learning when I was getting this degree?
Well, it's a manifestation of that. And it's also, and I've talked to a lot of people on the platform, it sort of reminds me of when I was a little boy and had big dreams about things, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And maybe I went to school when I was 6 or 7 years old and into the educational system. And, whether you believe this or not, it's sort of like your third eye, your creative eye is sort of veiled over because you learn how to do this and you learn how to be this, and there's socialization involved. And I believe there's positive things that can happen, but maybe there's not just one or two ways. There could be several different ways that could happen. So let's say like you looked at my photos as a kid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. My third eye's open. Like my eyes are open. My heart is open. I'm just excited. Then I get a little bit tired. And I think we've been tired for a long time. And I think with my studies, with my master's, this, past 2 years and my investigations into the creative, BitClout arrived. And now my third eye was beginning to open, and now it's open. It's open so much that I can hardly sleep at night. It's open so much that I just can't wait to, engage and to hear what people are doing and help support them. So in a weird way, that renaissance, that rebirth, that renewal, we're here and we're now. And I'm just excited to help people see where art works.
So in short, it is a scam.
Yeah, it's a scam. It's
no, I mean,
a scam.
You're complete. I'm just joking, of course, but I mean, because I'm hearing you say it, and what I'm really thinking is, and yet people call it a scam. Like, how can that be a scam?
Well, and my question is, what isn't a scam, maybe, or I don't know. I mean, what is this reality? I mean, we can go all into that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's what you make of it. It's what you put into it. If you're going to take, then you're going to fall on your ass. If you're just going to give, you're going to fall forward. You got to find that equal heart balance. You got to give and receive, and I think that's what we're seeing even on the platform now. We're seeing the people that are taking. We're seeing the people that are giving. You got to find that balance. And I think BitClout allows and affords for that. So.
Yeah. And, I usually put this slate up here at the beginning of our show, but before we end, I don't want to get away without you describing where art works is.
Definitely. And I allude to it a little bit at the beginning, but it's a company organization that I've started to basically support the creative, whether it's through mentoring, whether it's through spaces, whether it's through resources. It's just trying to show where art works. And a lot of the stuff that I talked about, that I'm going to be sharing on the platform in the next couple of weeks, will help to, serve as a resource. But where art works basically has the projects like BCTLTGallery, BitClout Gallery, as well as another one we're launching too, which is NFT Curator. So with NFT Curator in the next couple of weeks, if you do follow it, you'll be seeing some of the great NFT artists that are on the Ethereum as well as the Tezos blockchain that I've been working with for the last 6 months, especially within the Hikiknok community. They'll be hopefully coming over they already are on BitClout, but hopefully with the NFT BitClout, they'll be showcasing their work. But I really I've pushed through, and I've really dedicated a lot of time to find really amazing artists that I believe are the future of the NFT art space. So
what can BitClout do we all are like, sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for this announcement about NFTs and all kinds of speculation. What would your perfect version of an NFT blockchain combined with BitClout be?
Well, I think if I would love to see, and if anyone's listening that is developing, I would love to see a panel, a forum of artists, NFT artists, to really hear what they want and need. But what I've gleaned is a lot of C's, and they want communication, which a lot of the other platforms don't have, but BitClout has. They want compression. A lot of the platforms only allow for 40 megabytes. They want to be able to upload bigger
Yeah.
files. So I hope that BitClout could do that. They want community, which I think BitClout has, and we can bring them into that, which is great. They want content, which they create, and that's sort of a no-brainer. That's something they'll be doing. So I think these C's are very important, and if BitClout can hit those C's and provide clout for them, I think it's going to be a win-win. But what I want to say to everyone, they've already moved to different apartments probably 6 times over the last 4 months. They've been in the Ethereum, that worked for a bit, and then it sort of died up. Now they're in Tezos. I don't want to bring them into a new space if we don't have those things that they need to succeed.
I see. Yeah, to me, that seems to be the most important decision as an artist, is which blockchain to put that in, because it becomes permanent, correct?
Yeah, it becomes permanent. You can burn it if it hasn't transferred. The thing with the BitClout NFT too, though, instead of maybe emphasizing so much on digital NFT art, I think the utility of the NFT is really cool. Whether it's thinking about a contract or like a birth certificate or a marriage license or tracking a product throughout the blockchain. I mean, there's so many utility case scenarios that I think are great, and I just don't want to lead artists in. So I'm very careful. I'm very loving. I'm here. So I'm very sensitive to all this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Justin, I can't thank you enough, man. This has been great. I hate it because I know you're busy. I know you've got a million things you got to do and you want to get going, but I could have done a whole nother show and we could have talked about some cool stuff. But
well, there's more things to talk about, and I want to offer to anyone, you can hit me up in the DM or on BitClout, or hit me up, and I'll be more than happy to give anyone 15 minutes. If you're a creator sort of in a slump, hit me up. We'll figure out a time, and we can talk about what you're doing or what you want to do. We can't do this alone, and I think BitClout is a great example of how we can collaborate and create community and create amazing things, and that's where art works.
Awesome. Love what you're doing, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.